Hi guys, welcome to the Human and the Machine Crypto channel, where we talk to the teams developing some of the hottest and newest services in the DeFi space around the world. With me, my co-host, the Machine, Hikaru, a crypto junkie with a golden brain.
And this is T, just a simple human keeping up with the really crazy world of crypto.
We just got so much crazier this week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But hang in there, right?
Yeah. Like diamond hands.
Always, yeah. So for those of you who are new to our channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, and share our content.
Yeah. So today we are talking with Paul Claudius. Paul is the business development lead of DIA. Paul, thank you so much for being here. How are you today? Where are you in the world?
Hi, Hikaru T. Thanks so much for having me. I'm very excited about this. I'm currently in Berlin.
Okay, good. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get into crypto, blockchain, and then DIA?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I have a management and finance background. This is what I studied, and I went into investment banking, private equity prior to funding my first company. And it was quite early on that I got in touch with crypto by buying Bitcoin. But back then, I didn't really realize what impact this will have on our broader society and also on me as a career choice. It took me around 2017 to join the space full time. And back then I was building with my co-founders of DIA first smart contracts holding different assets. And by doing this, we realized there's an absence of a trustworthy and reliable source to bring financial data on chain. And this really led us to found DIA.
Okay. So can you explain that last bit in simpler terms?
Yes, sure. So on the blockchain, some blockchains such as Ethereum use smart contracts, and these are basically programs which can execute different tasks. We were programming a program which is holding different crypto assets, so similar to an ETF which holds different stocks. And the blockchain doesn't know what's happening outside, so it needs the information to be provided by someone, so-called oracles. DIA is an oracle, and it provides financial data on-chain to these blockchains, so these programs can work. And this is mostly financial data. How much is Ethereum worth right now? Or what's the total value locked in R, for example? So this is what DIA is serving and providing in a very decentralized manner.
Okay, and got it. Now, can you explain what is the benefit of that, of linking and getting that kind of financial information into the blockchain?
Without that information, different applications just wouldn't work. So if these applications don't know a price, they can't work. So it's a really integral infrastructure part. Without it, all these blockchain applications won't work. So without an oracle, all the products in DeFi, they don't work. So DIA is really essential to these different DeFi applications out there.
Okay. And what is your difference between other projects? There's quite a few oracles out there.
Yeah.
What is the difference between DIA and others?
On a more high level, DIA is organized as a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. Why? Because, as I said, oracles are really important for such financial instruments in the DeFi space. And we want to have stakeholders participate and also have a voice in how DIA is being built. So this is why DIA is built as a DAO in Switzerland under Swiss law, which really enables that token holders can vote on different product and governance decisions. Apart from that, we also differentiate in the way how we're building DIA and aggregate data. Here again, we're relying on a broad community of contributors. So you could compare DIA's approach to what Wikipedia is basically doing with general information. A lot of contributors are writing the content at Wikipedia, others are reviewing it, approving it. And for this reason, it scales so fast. The same approach we're doing at DIA. We have a broad set of contributors working on DIA, connecting new data sources, writing methodologies, reviewing this, approving this. So this is a key differentiator. There are a couple of more technical differentiators. What we believe makes DIA the best product out there, and that is we are sourcing data from blockchains and from different exchanges on a very granular trade level, aggregating all that data and sanitizing that data prior to sending it to those smart contracts. This is something other oracles don't do. So somebody who's using our data has the full transparency of where does the data actually come from, what has been done with it, and he can also really design the way this data is being provided. So we can actually cater to more complex use cases than other products out there.
Excellent. Yeah. I like how you mentioned the Wikipedia example. Now, it's great to have all of these contributors, right, to provide the information, but how do you actually prevent and check for the accuracy? Because, scalability is important, but I believe as a decentralized oracle, accuracy is just as important.
Absolutely. Great question. So we believe, and I think that's just a given, data is not right or wrong. There are a lot of data sources. So we're aggregating, for example, if the goal is to have the most accurate Ethereum US dollar price, how do you get there? You can actually review different sources, or you can claim this is right. But we're looking at this more from a technical perspective. So we're trying to aggregate as many as possible relevant sources, centralized exchanges, and also on-chain trading information. We're pulling all that data, and then we're computing all that information, cleansing for outliers. How does this work? So we see if one data source is really deviating strongly from all the others. We see, okay, this is an outlier. It might be malicious by purpose, that somebody wanted to potentially provide a different price point, or just by mistake because technology sometimes breaks. So we have really processes in place that ensure that we're just including data which makes sense compared to the other data we're sourcing. So this is why we rely on so many data sources, and then we compute and exclude outliers. And we are computing the price points on so-called volume-weighted averages. So we're looking actually what price sources have a relevant volume of the overall market. And we're getting this data, as I said, on a trade level. So very granular. So we are really looking at the individual trades, and this is all automated. And this computation happens in so-called confidential computing environments. What does this mean? Neither us nor somebody else can actually change the methodologies we're implying, so how this data is being calculated and how outliers are being taken out. So we developed this with IBM together to really ensure that nobody can tamper with the data. And with this, we are really in a unique position. Nobody else but us actually provides.
Okay. Nice. And could you mention some of the top use cases used by your clients or partners?
Yes, I'd love to. So clients, we still differentiate between DeFi applications, so smart contracts ingesting that data, and more traditional players, so regulated institutions such as a custodian for crypto assets. Let me start first with the DeFi applications. Smart contracts require some data information. So what we deliver is different asset prices or other DeFi metrics on different blockchains. So on Ethereum, but also on Polygon, Polkadot, Binance Smart Chain. So we really provide the data where it's needed for the builders, wherever they are building this. So what I really like about our solution is that we're everywhere where we are needed. And here, where we believe we provide a much better product is that these applications, they can define with us what they exactly need. So I was bringing the example of an Ethereum USD price, which is, I guess, pretty standard, and there are a lot of good solutions out there. Still, we are calculating this on a trade level. So we're really providing the highest fidelity of such fees. But a lot of applications also require asset prices of not so well-known assets where there's not so much liquidity. And we design with them methodologies and processes that we provide them with price points they can really rely on, which can't be manipulated by outside players. So especially these use cases where we are providing tailor-made Oracle feeds for such products is something I find extremely exciting. Another example for DeFi applications we're pretty unique in is that we can compute also a multitude of different asset prices into one. So for example, an index where you say, I want to have all the Polkadot ecosystem prices in one price feed. We can compute a methodology taking all this information into account and providing it with one price point. So these are the DeFi application use cases I'm really excited about. When it comes to traditional finance, for now, banks and regulated custodians, they are entering the space. And they have quite high standards on how they want to ingest data. And we're already catering to these high standards through the process I already described, by getting data on a trade level, doing sanitation of such data, creating a mutable audit trail, and bringing this then through an API or through an Oracle to such clients. We have regulated custodians who we provide with so-called end-of-day asset prices. They need to know how much are the assets worth billions of dollars in crypto assets they're holding on behalf of their clients. And they are charging their clients basically based on the value of such assets. And they rely on our fees to provide them with the most trustworthy pricing data. And they can tell their clients exactly how these price points have been calculated, pointing to our transparent methodology.
Nice. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, very thorough. Yeah, that's excellent, right? Now, I was also thinking, we're also seeing the emergence of kind of like the shift or middle between DeFi and traditional finance, right? For example, we saw like synthetics, tokenized Tesla stock. So when it comes to say like, the traditional finance, can you also source data from there, or how does that work?
Yeah, exactly. So the majority of pricing information is crypto native, so to say. So it's asset price data, ETHUSD, or some altcoins, or some DeFi metrics. But for some products, for example, synthetics, by issuing different equity trackers, which are collateralized, it requires traditional financial data. So this can be equities, commodities such as gold tokens, or FX. So a stable coin potentially, which is not US dollar, but euro or pounds or whatever denominated. And we're providing such data. So we're sourcing this from off-chain data sources, which take into account a lot of traditional trading venues, also on an order level basis. And then we push this on-chain to ingest for different smart contracts, which, for example, as you said, do synthetic assets, which track a traditional asset price. But that's also the interesting thing about DIA. We already have a very vast set of price points we are providing. But if you need one as a builder, you can just create a ticket and request one. So it's really a fast process of adding new price points, which are not there yet. A different part of informations we're tackling right now are NFTs. They're a bit different than traditional crypto prices because this pricing information is on-chain, where the NFT is basically settled, but it's also a lot of off-chain information because such NFTs, they are traded in markations, which change the current attributes of an NFT, which are not directly reflected on chain. And we're pulling that data from obviously different L1s, being it Polygon, for example, Flow, but of course Ethereum, but also from marketplaces such as OpenSea and a bunch of others. And we are aggregating that data, creating meta categories, and basically creating DeFi primitives for NFT data. So again, something where the community is very, very important for us, because all these NFTs are pretty heterogeneous. So having experts in certain NFT categories is really helpful for us. For example, Zrun, which are NFTs with horses. You need to be an expert to understand the stables, breeding lines, and very specific things. And this is completely different to, let's say, NBA Top Shots or CryptoPunks. So the community is really helping us to identifying the right information, aggregating it, and sanitizing it, cross-referencing it, and then making it, again, accessible through different L1s and APIs.
Nice. Nice. And now that we're talking about this, when we were researching your project, we came across Dia Labs. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, Dia Labs was built to tackle different early areas, and my colleague Ioana is leading Dia Labs, and she's looking into how does the regulator actually interact with different blockchain purposes? Because as we briefly discussed, there's DeFi, there's traditional finance, but this will kind of overlap even more in the future. So regulation will be imposed on different DeFi applications. We know from traditional finance, and DeFi technology will be used by traditional financial players. So with Dia Labs, one area we're tackling is educating and discussing with the regulator and driving self-regulation of the industry and making them understand what's the benefit for having immutable data, something we're missing in traditional finance, that there's a record of financial asset data, for example, which can't be tampered once it's recorded. So this is a huge benefit and something we might see in finance. So we're having these discussions with a big focus on European regulation, and this is being done through Dia Labs. Another area is Dia Labs is also the breeding ground for very new use cases, which are, for example, where it kind of blurs between, is this financial information, is this additional data, and this is something we're catering through with Dia Labs, understanding new use cases, what might be considered as financial data, catering to such applications, and exploring with different projects what they need. And another initiative, the third one, is empowerment of female and minority builders in the space. So Ioana is leading this efforts to really create a positive environment and the necessary foundations to empower a more diverse ecosystem of builders. And the last initiative is the environmental perspective. I mean, we saw this with a couple of tweaks in the last days that the environmental impact is really important, not only for prices possibly and mainstream adoption, but also for us as builders. We obviously want to do something positive, and hence we're looking very much of the environmental impact of different L1s. And we as oracles, as we are anyways aggregating all on-chain, or the majority of on-chain data from a lot of blockchains out there, we're in a very good position to understand, okay, what transactions happen, and we're working with different academic bodies to assess the environmental impact on such blockchains. Obviously, this differs greatly between proof of work and migrating to proof of stake chains, and how this will impact, and also by providing the tool set of potentially offsetting such impact. So as we know, how much does a single wallet, a project, a blockchain, a DAO fund actually creates in transactions on different L1s, we can assess the potential environmental impact. This is another area we're driving with DR Labs. But you should definitely have a follow-on interview with Ioana, who's leading that initiative, and it's really exciting what she's doing there. Yeah,
it would be nice actually, because we usually ask our guests if they want or they're interested on like coming 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now. So we really can follow up on all these different projects, and it's just not one off. So if next time, if you agree, if you want, and we can bring her and talk to her. So that's completely up to you guys.
I think that would be great. That would be great for your community and audience.
Yes, absolutely, man, for sure. Next question was, where did you see your project going in the next 5 years? You kind of already told us quite a bit about how you see the future, happening. Do you have anything else to add on top of this, or you think this is what you just said in the last couple of minutes covers?
No, let me just expand a bit on that. So what I already said, we see somehow merging DeFi and traditional finance. So I expect that what we're currently providing to these different ecosystems will become more and more important. To have transparent, verifiable data, no matter if it's a smart contract or a traditional API, it's just a way of delivering it. And blockchain brings immutability, but also the ability of having a large community incentivized to work on such a project. So again, to the analogy of Wikipedia, I think if Wikipedia would have had token economic incentives, it would have grown even faster than it actually grew. So I'm quite excited about that. Another really important part for me when I look at our 5 years, or maybe let's say a 3 years perspective, is the decentralization of DIA. So what we're doing currently is, as I said, we're aggregating data, we're sanitizing that data, and we're providing that data. This process already has been decentralized to a good extent, but we're working on really making it completely autonomous, that people can request a new data point, it will be provided, it will be approved by the DAO, and it will be then automatically delivered to a blockchain. And the builders will be able to select different methodologies and also create them and deploy them directly, and also select the nodes which will provide that data. And this won't require really the involvement of somebody like from the team, me at all. So we'll be just as anybody else, provide information, provide work on different projects. So quite excited. Everybody's saying we're a DAO, but it really takes a lot to actually get the community in there and build the different elements that something really functions in a decentralized manner. This is what I'm quite excited about, looking at this roadmap, how well we progress here, and the next things we'll provide there.
Right.
That's interesting.
Exactly. It has to be done step by step, but very strong
exactly.
steps to get there. Yeah. Speaking of community, right? Yeah. We just don't want our community to simply learn, but to really be part of the community, engage and be part of what you guys do as well. So DIA Labs is another example. How else can the community be involved with?
Yes, I think we are really the Oracle project out there which relies strongest on its community, and being a DAO, you're nothing without the community and the people around you. So you can only scale and become better if you have the right community. So I love to also reach out to your community here to be very involved and get active. So the easiest starting point is just to jump into our Telegram channel. A lot of people will point you to whatever you're interested in, and it depends a bit on your background, the time you want to commit. So if you want to become an active contributor, there are a lot of Gitcoin bounties out there for adding new data sources, writing methodologies, or as I said, in the NFT space, creating meta categories, taking care of different NFT types. So based on your background, the time you want to spend on the project, there are different things you can really work on yourself. Yes, Telegram is, I think, a great way to start, to be pointed there, or check out directly Gitcoin. So as I said, I think we have now like 40 to 50 contributors who dedicate a lot of their time into the project. I'm excited about everyone joining more here with big social channels where people are helping on marketing and pushing the project. So, and we're very open. So also if you want to reach out to somebody from the, it's called a core team for now, just ping us on Telegram. So my handle is Paul Claudius. I'm happy to help you on board on this journey with us and point you to other people in our community.
Nice. Good. And we're running out of time. So one last one. What hot announcements can the community expect soon from DIA?
Yeah, so what everybody's always looking for, what's happening. I think there are some major announcements coming up. I'm really excited about. We've been working for really the last 12 months. I think will be major announcements, and I mean, I can't announce them now, but let me try to give you a sense what this will be about. So as I said, we're working hard on making NFT data more transparent and accessible. So I think here we'll communicate pretty soon an amazing product which really provides DeFi primitives for NFT data and is I think the necessary foundation for new products, being it synthetic indices based on NFTs, collateralized lending. So I think it's the primitives to make currently fairly dead capital as NFTs into active capital, and a lot of projects can be built on top of this. The other announcement, which I'm extremely excited about, will tackle the transparency regarding data rights. This sounds a bit dull, but it's really essential because everybody's using Oracle price feeds in the space, but nobody knows actually on what data these price feeds rely. We already provide the transparency where the data comes from, but we'll go a step further to also tackle the IP and licensing rights attached to that. Because when you look at in traditional finance, if somebody would create an ETF on the Dow Jones and they would just get the data from somewhere, they would probably face huge charges by the originators of such data. And this is something we'll see in the not too distant future in crypto as well. And we are addressing that issue in a completely decentralized manner, which will bring a lot of transparency on where the data comes from and also enable such data providers to monetize the data they're providing. So I'm pretty excited about that, and we'll announce this in pretty soon.
Yeah, we can wait. Any questions?
No, I mean, that was tons of good information, but we do have to wrap up now.
Yes. So again, if you're willing to come again, or any one of your team again in the show in the next few months, please just, you're more than welcome. We want to hear from you. It's a serious project. It's solid. You are actually addressing a real problem, right? So lovely, man. Thank you very much for being here. Anything else you want to wrap up yourself, or that's about it?
No, I mean, thank you guys so much for having me. It was great fun, and thank you for the great questions. And again, just for your community out there, please get in touch, ping us on Telegram, be active, and build with us. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank
Good
you.
luck, buddy. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Machine.
Right.
I mean, it's good. But can we just take one step and just give me one example
Right.
or one reason
Right.
why it's so important to have these oracles? I mean, like, what are
Yeah.
you, for example,
Yeah.
how can you prevent like manipulation? Is it? What is? Can you just give us a couple of super fast examples so we put context into all this?
Yeah, excellent question. I'll just talk about one that stood out to me. So recently, right, there's been talks, in the blockchain community about the environmental effects of, proof of work. And
Yeah.
it is true. It's resource intensive,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like there's so much false information, misleading drama, people saying this and that. And it's like, cut the BS, right? So the question is, okay, where can we get this reliable data?
Yeah.
And then, Paul was talking about how with the DIA, right, you'll be able to source, for example, from like academics or university, like real data, accurate data, and be able to say, hey guys, this is the truth of the environmental effects of, proof of whatever. So basically being able to take real information, right, and collectively as a community, as a decentralized organization, say, hey, this is accurate. Yeah. It sounds simple, but it's actually very, very difficult to do in reality. So that's the importance of it, I would say.
Okay, and then we send information to the Pope so he doesn't talk shit about Bitcoin, about crypto. Okay, bro. You know what I was thinking?
Yeah.
Will the human understand?
Right.
I think we should do will the human understand every time we do one interview like this.
Oh,
so
for sure.
We just
Yeah.
explain the terms that we talked with our interviews.
I mean, exactly. Oracles, right? It just comes up time and time again.
Yeah.
But it's not as simple to
It's
understand.
not.
So
Yeah.
let's cover that.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, well.
So if you want to keep learning more about, blockchain terms and hear some exciting entrepreneurs in the space, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, and share our content.
Smash it. Smash it. Thank you
Yeah,
very much, buddy. Yeah. Kill it.
All right. Thank you, human.
Yeah. Thank you, Machine.
All right.
See
Till
you
next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.